Hello everyone, this is Andrew from Crown Academy of English. Today we're doing an English grammar lesson about imperative clauses. Let's start. Clean your hands. Clean your hands. So in this sentence, the word clean in this sentence is an imperative. Okay, so in this context, the verb clean is an imperative. So what is an imperative? Well, an imperative is a verb that is in the base form. Okay, notice this is the base form of the verb clean. And very important, an imperative usually does not have a subject. Notice that there's no subject here. We're not saying I clean, you clean, we clean. No, there is no subject. It is simply the verb in the base form. So, what does this mean? What is the use of this? Well, in this particular example, we are using the imperative to give an order to someone. Okay, we're giving an order or instructions to someone. With, the person's hands are dirty, so we're giving them an order. We're saying, clean your hands. It's an instruction. But there are other uses of the imperative. Here are the common uses of it. Orders and instructions, to encourage someone, to suggest something, to offer something, and to express wishes for someone's welfare. So let's look at all of these in a bit more detail. Orders and instructions. So we have already seen one example with clean your hands. Let's look at some more examples. So here is a teacher and a student. The teacher says, read chapter 3 and then write a summary. So here are two examples of the imperative. Read chapter 3 and then write a summary. So there are two instructions, two orders. So it's the verb read in the base form and there's no subject. Example 2. Call the restaurant and order a pizza. Again, we have two examples of the imperative, two instructions. Call, order. So it's the base form with no subject. We can use the negative form of the imperative to tell someone not to do something. So we're giving someone an order or an instruction not to do something. And the form is do not, followed by the base form. So this is the full form, and the contracted form is don't. Don't, followed by the base form. This is the most common. This is the one that you hear the most. So here is an example. Don't put your feet on the table. So someone is telling this man not to put the feet on the table. Don't put your feet on the table. Okay? So it's an order not to do something. To encourage someone. Try again. Don't quit. Don't give up. So try again. So it's not really an order, but we are encouraging someone. Try is the verb try. It's the base form. And there's no subject here. And here are two examples in the negative. Don't quit and don't give up. Give up is a phrasal verb. And it's another way of saying quit. So don't give up. Don't quit. to suggest something or to give advice to someone. It's going to rain. Take your umbrella. Take your umbrella. So we're giving someone some advice. We're making a suggestion. Take your umbrella because it's going to rain. So it's the verb take, the base form, and there's no subject. It's the imperative. Try the pizza. It's delicious. So we're advising someone to taste the pizza, to try it. Don't live in London. It's expensive. So this is some advice using the negative form. Don't live in London. It's expensive. To offer something. Have a cup of coffee. Okay, so this time, so it's not an order. We are being polite here because we are offering something. So it's a common use of the imperative is to offer something to someone. Have a cake. Come to London with us. So this is, it's not really offering something, this is an invitation. So we can use the imperative to offer an invitation. So we're inviting someone to London with us. Come to London with us. So this is the verb come. It's the base form. And as you can see, there's no subject. To express wishes for someone's welfare. So this is a very common example in a restaurant. So this is the waiter in the restaurant. After he or she has brought you your food, then they will say, enjoy your meal. Enjoy your meal. So they are expressing their wishes for our welfare. Okay, so it's not an order, it's not an instruction. They are simply wishing us well, in fact. Enjoy your meal. So here is someone who is ill, who is sick. So we say to them, get well soon. Get well soon. So we say this to someone when we want them to feel better, when we want them to recuperate. Okay? You often see this on the front of a card. When someone is ill, we often buy them a card. And on the front of the card, or inside the card, it says, get well soon. Okay? So it's the imperative of the verb get, and there's no subject. Have a good weekend. So you hear this a lot on a Friday evening. So this is probably a Friday evening after a week of work. So you wish someone a good weekend. So we're expressing wishes for someone's welfare. So we say, have a good weekend. We can also say, have a nice holiday. Or have a pleasant evening. Okay? Do followed by the imperative. So sometimes, not always, but sometimes we use the auxiliary do before the imperative. And when we do this, this is very polite and formal. Okay, so it makes the sentence more polite. So if we want to offer someone a cup of coffee and we want to be very polite and formal, then we say, do have a cup of coffee. Do have a cup of coffee. And we emphasize the word do when we say it. Do have a cup of coffee. So when we welcome someone, we can say, good morning, do sit down. Do sit down. And in a business environment. Do call me if you have any questions. So do call me if you have any questions. Okay, so we're offering help here. We're offering a service. And by saying do, then we are really insisting that the person calls me if they have any questions. Okay, so that is why it is very polite, because we're insisting that they have a cup of coffee. We're insisting that they call me. Okay, we're insisting that they sit down and rest. Okay, so do. First person imperatives with the word let. So let's look at the first person singular. So the form is let me followed by the base form. So it's let me followed by the imperative. And the use is to give instructions to oneself. Let me give you an example. In fact, I just gave you one. Did you hear me? I said, let me give you an example. So here is an example of someone, a man who is in the supermarket and he is shopping and he is trying to remember what he needs to buy. So he is talking to himself, in fact. So this is the common use of let me. It's you're giving instructions to yourself. You're expressing your thoughts out loud. So I'm sure you do this in your own language where you speak to yourself. In fact, there's no one there, but you're speaking to yourself. So he's talking and he's saying, let me see, what do I need to buy? So basically he's thinking and he's talking his thoughts. Let me see. It's very, very common, this. Let me see. It's when you're thinking and deciding about something. Another example, David asks, what time is the meeting tomorrow? And Mark replies, I'm not sure. Let me think. Let me think. So this is very similar. Let me see, let me think. It's practically the same meaning. So let me followed by the base form. It's when you are talking to yourself. You're giving instructions to yourself. Okay, you're thinking out loud. And we also have the first person plural. And the form is let us followed by the base form. So this is the full form, but this is not very common. We often use the contracted form, which is let's followed by the base form. And the use of this, the meaning is to suggest that we do something. Okay, so you're talking to someone and you make a suggestion that the other person and you do something together. Okay, so you're suggesting that we do something. And I often use this structure. I often use this structure at the beginning of my videos. In fact, I said it at the beginning of this video. So here is an example of what I say at the beginning of my lessons. Today we are going to do a grammar lesson. Let's start. Let's start. So I am suggesting that we start the video, that we start the lesson. Okay? Mark says, let's go to London next weekend. And Jane replies, good idea. So Mark is suggesting to Jane that they do something. So from his perspective, it is that we do something. Okay? Let's go. Let's start. Let us is not very common, but this is this is very formal, in fact. This is more common. Okay? So there we are. That's the end of the video. If you're interested in a private online English lesson, then click here for the prices. And here are some other videos which I recommend you watch.